Hello, my name is Val, and today I'm going to be covering the destruction spec of a Warlock. I will go over glyphs, gems, and your rotation that you should be using. I want to start by looking at the spec I'm using. Right now, I'm specing the destruction. You can look at the talents here. Other Warlocks might spec into Soul Leech, but that shouldn't affect your DPS. In the Demonology spec, you want to pick up this talent here, which will increase your spell power. And I personally spec into Suppression, which just gives me an extra 3% chance to hit on a target, which means I just have, I can gear other things besides hit, such as spell power, haste, and crit and spirit. The glyphs I'm using is Glyph of Conflagrate, Glyph of Incinerate, and Glyph of Life Tap. With Glyph of Life Tap, I recommend getting a add-on called Life Tapper, which will just make an annoying noise over your computer and say, hey, you need a life tap and stuff, and it will also go in your chat box, you'll see it. I use Life Tap before I get into combat for the rotation. Also, I like to check and make sure I have my Fell Armor on, and my Grand Spellstone is on my weapon. For gemming, I use for red, 23 spell power. For yellow, I use 12 spell power, 10 haste. And for blue, I use 12 spell power and 10 spirit. For the meta you should use is 21 critical strike rate and 3 increased critical damage. Use that one, it's the best for you as a destruction warlock. Now getting into the rotation, I always use my life tap, as I said, before I enter combat, and you will use one of two curses. You will not use Curse of the Elements if you have a Boomkin, DK, or another Warlock that's actually casting it on the target. If there's none of those in your party, use it. But if there is one of those players using that, I use Curse of Doom, which will do the most DPS. Also, it takes a minute to tick, so if the boss or target is going to die before that, some people use Curse of Agony. I don't bother with it, personally. So getting into the spec, we're going to start with my life tap, and then I'm going to throw my curse on, and then I'm going to emulate Chaos Bolt to start because Conflagrate takes a second to use, so it's just filled DPS time. And then you're going to spam Incinerates until you have a next cooldown or Emulate's about to drop. You can see my DPS going up. I also use Pop Trinkets at the start because that will just increase your damage done. Right now I'm saying over 6k DPS, and I'm not in the greatest gear. I'm still using a few PvP pieces, but that's just because I have been only 80 for so long on this character. As you see, my life tap is saying life tap again, as I said it would. And the spec is very easy, and very easy to learn it. It's probably the easiest of the three specs. Demonology is pretty decently easy. Affliction by far is the hardest for Warlocks. Later I plan on making an Affliction guide. It is actually the best DPS at the moment for 3.3.5, but some people have troubles using it and it's harder in encounters. So this is more of a burst DPS spec, which might be a little bit easier for you, or if your encounters, if you have troubles keeping dots up and anything like that. Right now I'm saying about 6.7k DPS, so I'm doing good DPS. I'm going to go ahead and stop here. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comment box, and thanks for watching my video. Enjoy.
All these scars keep ripping you back.